And he's just living his best life. Everyone else in the army has just been getting crushed, but he's been doing awesome. Just going chopping through dudes and made it all the way the rest around the board. Still frenzied. Hello, welcome to an old world battle report. This is introduce yourself.
Hi, Garrett.
Garrett. Hey, I'm Cameron. We're at my house, and we are playing open battle. But this is part of a league. We are playing the South Bay Old World Summer League in the Bay Area. It's a competitive league over 3 rounds. The only twist is that we're actually trying this out. We're bringing back the old 25%, 25% rule from previous editions. So that means these armies are constructed so that you can only have 25% of your points in lords and 25% in heroes. These are obviously old distinctions, so we had to go make a list of what's a lord and what's a hero. But everyone seemed really excited to try the game out that way. If you just don't quite take quite so many heroes or lords rather, since that does seem to be the meta. So this will be interesting. We can see how what people have cooked up in their lists without quite so many lord choices, and we'll get to that in a second when we go over army lists and deployment. Here's my troll horde. So going from left to right, we've got a unit of 7 river trolls with great weapons. That is my general. It's an Orc Warboss on a chariot with great weapon, Trollhide Trousers, and dead Ard Armour. Back there's an Orc Big Boss, also on a chariot, also with Trollhide Trousers. Take advantage of the Army Special Rule. Has a BSB and is frenzied with War Paint. This gigantic model here is it's a rogue idol model, but it's based up appropriately to represent a bone grinder giant because I wanted something that was sufficiently large to be comparable to the real bone grinder. This is a unit of 7 stone trolls with great weapons. Behind that, we have a unit of boar boys. They are biggins, cast spears and shields, the banner of butchery, and embedded in them is a shaman, Orc Shaman level 4 with Troll Magic. And the Idol of Mork, I believe. No, Lore Familiar. Lore Familiar.
All right, for the Army of Bretonnia, this is a Grand Army list. We'll start off with 3 units of Pegasus Knights. They have a champion and a unpainted standard bearer. Next up, we have an oversized unit of Knights of the Realm. There are 10 knights in there, along with 1 level 2 damsel and a paladin with a BSB. This unit has both the banner of Shallan and the War Banner. Next to it is an undersized unit of Knights of the Realm, just 5 of them, champion and standard bearer. We then have our scouting squires, 8 of them. They do have an esquire. Next up, we have a unit of 17 peasant bowmen. These guys are just there to hold the line, have no special upgrades. Finally, we have a unit of Grail Knights. This has the Lady Elise in there, who is the general. They also have the Errantry Banner, champion, and standard. And finally, we have a unit of Pegasus Knights. These guys also have a champion and standard, and somewhere in the distance there is a green glow.
Garrett has elected to pray as Bretonia, so I will be going first. Just some commentary on my list here. He's got the Green Knight. I was like, hey, you know what? I don't need to take any magic weapons. I've got a level 4 wizard. I can dispel Walk Between Worlds. Well, for some reason, I wasn't thinking about units that are actually just ethereal, like the Green Knight, so we're going to see how this goes. Yeah, let's see what happens. Strategy phase. So both sets of trolls passed their stupid checks. I have a bubble here of Oi this way with the general, and then he cast Big Smarts on himself, and he cast Rapid Regeneration on the Bone Grinder. There were no charges because it's turn 1. So remaining moves phase for the Orcs and Goblins, that is the Troll Horde. They moved up. They are just outside of charge range of the Peg Knights. We measured it out. The boss, or the war boss, is hiding behind there. The big boss is we're charge blocking him because he's frenzied, so we're just using the bone grinder there to charge block him. They moved up a bit. Trolls angled sideways there because they don't want to get flanked by all his super fast cavalry and stuff. And the problem here is I need to threaten his archers at least somewhat, otherwise he'll literally just sit there shooting arrows at me for the entire game. And so I have to go forward, unfortunately. So I'm struck here between having to go forward, but also trying to protect my flanks with my vastly inferior model count. Strategy phase for the Bretonians. Elise Duchard successfully cast the Lady's Wrath and the Lady's Gift. The damsel in this unit tried to cast the Lady's Wrath and failed. And the Green Knight has appeared on the battlefield. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. The Pegasus Knights are coming around the flank. His lance is here, ensuring that he stays out of range of the Troll's charge in case they get their movement buff off again. The archers moved up. Those lances are being cagey. Again, just thinking about my charges. The Peg Knights moved up here right behind the Green Knight. Again, I don't really have a lot of magical attacks this list, so I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. Only a little bit of shooting. The Squires shot at the Boar Boys, landed 2 hits, but did no damage because we made armor saves. The Peasant Bowmen with their longbows took shots at the Bone Grinder with very bad to hit rolls because a lot of 6s and 7s there, but got lucky. Managed to get 1 wound through that rerollable regen, so it's down to 7 wounds. Strategy phase for the Orcs and Goblins. They cast. Well, Big Smart's actually just stayed in play. It remains in play spell. And recast Rapid Regeneration on the Bone Grinder. All the trolls made their stupid checks. Charge moves. So the Bone Grinder wanted to charge the Squires, who you may notice aren't there anymore. That's because they fled in terror. They did not make their terror check. So they rolled an 11, moved all the way through those knights back there, and are near the edge of the board and fleeing. The Bone Grinder had no alternative targets to redirect into and rolled a 5 on the dice, so it had to move 11 inches straight forward and is unfortunately hanging out in the breeze, ready to get charged by the 2 knight units. But you know what? That was kind of inevitable anyway. I have no chaff in this list, so something has to take the charge. So might as well be the Bone Grinder. We'll see how that goes. Remaining moves for the trolls. They moved backwards. They moved backward 3 inches because I was actually very concerned about the Peg Knights flying completely over me. And obviously I don't want to engage the Green Knight because I can't hurt it. Then this boss backed it up to keep his options open for going right or left. This boss is staying back because there is some scenario where maybe next turn the knights engage the Bone Grinder, kill it, make it retreat or something. It can't retreat; it's unbreakable. But you know, I wanted to keep those options open in case it died. Boar Boys wheeled slightly, also pointing that direction. Trolls are plugging the gap to try to secure my flank here. I know I can't engage on my own terms over here because he's just too fast, so it's kind of awkward. I have to castle up a little bit. Strategy phase for the Bretonnians. So first off, Conjuration. The Lady's Wrath went off there, out of my dispel range still, unfortunately. And then he already had both those spells up on this unit, but he chose to re-roll the Lady's Gift to try to get the better result and succeeded. And then after that, the Squires have rallied. Charges for the Bretonnians. Everybody dogpiled onto the the Bone Grinder right there. So we got 2 units of Knights of the Realm and the Peg Knights all charging the Bone Grinder. And the Green Knight has engaged the Trolls, and will probably be in that combat for the rest of the game. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. So the Peg Knights charged off there, so there's not much on that side of the board. They're standing to shoot. They moved up just slightly to just outside of the charge range of the Trolls. Same with the Peg Knights. Shooting phase for the Bretonnians. Really, the only shooting came from these archers, who shot the Boar Boys, who had a lot of cover from that terrain piece there, but they did manage to kill 1 Boar Boy. The Bone Grinder versus lots of characters, Peg Knights, and 2 units of Knights of the Realm. Very complicated combat with lots of different initiatives and various combinations of magical and non-magical attacks of what can get the reroll regen save, but when it was all said and done, I took 4 wounds. So down to 3 wounds there on the Bone Grinder. Bone Grinder rolled the big, large template thing, put it over that big unit of Knights of the Realm, and just rolled really terribly. So he only ended up doing 1 wound, and very randomly, it happened on the damsel because she failed her lookout sword roll. So the damsel took 1 wound, and he made all of his saves on the stomp attacks. So I just did the 1 wound. That's it. I'm unbreakable. I gave ground diagonally, and this unit, as far as we can tell, can't follow up because you can only follow up straight forwards, and that would no longer keep them in combat. And then they failed their reform check as well, so they're just sitting there. But the Peg Knights and this small unit of Knights of the Realm have followed up, and we'll fight it again next turn. The Green Knight versus the River Trolls. The Green Knight did 2 wounds. The River Trolls did nothing because they can't harm the Green Knight. So 1 combat by 1, and actually I rolled an 8 with the leadership from the general here, which is a fallback in good order. They rolled a 6 when they fell back, so I reformed them with an extra, kind of ranked them up a bit. But this is a problem because they're actually in real danger of getting bullied off the board completely after a couple more combats. And I don't think there's anything I can do about it. So that's unfortunate. We'll see how that goes. Strategy phase for the trolls. Again, Big Smarts is already up. Everyone may pass their stupid check, although it doesn't really matter for them because they're in combat. And I can't cast Rapid Regen on him because he's in combat. So I had to cast it on the Boar Boys, so they have Rapid Regen. Charges. The big boss with the BSB charged into the side of the Peg Knights. Remaining moves for the Orcs. The boss moved forward ever so slightly, but took care to make sure that they were still in his bubble somewhat for leadership, because they're going to need it. Then the Orcs moved up just a tiny bit to make sure they were out of range of the Longbone charge from the Peg Knights. And over here I had the choice. I could either kind of menace the Peg Knights with the Trolls, and they'd fly right over me, and then I'd waste my time, or I could go menace this unit and actually engage somebody. That is going to allow the Peg Knights in my backfield, but I think that's a better move than just having them sit around picking their noses. So we moved a March move with Ravenous Recourse, which I cast right there. And they're now right in the face of those Grail Knights. It's the Bone Grinder and the Big Boss against all this. This is complicated. So the Peg Knights issued a challenge, which is accepted by the Big Boss. The Big Boss rolled awful. Only minimum impact hits. Missed 3 out of 5 of his attacks. Made saves on the made the ladies invuln save. So he actually only did 1 wound to the champion. Amazingly, champion survived. Didn't hurt the Big Boss though. The Bone Grinder rolled Grind Its Bones, where this unit here had to take initiative tests or die. So 2 of them failed their initiative test. On initiative 3, they're dead. Then all the attacks back was just barely able to kill the Bone Grinder. He was not able to get rapid regen this round because he's in combat. So that made him a lot weaker, and obviously he's already down to 3 wounds, so he's pretty hurt from all those charges last turn. So did not get his stomp attacks. We added up all the combat res, and amazingly, it was 6-6. And that meant there's no musicians, so we just push. That's a tie. The Green Knight versus the Trolls. The Green Knight did 3 wounds and caused 1 unsaved saved regen, so 1 of the Trolls is now dead. They can't hurt him, so close ordered. This time on the test from the general, they rolled a give ground, so they moved back 2 inches. Getting close to that board edge. Bretonnian strategy phase. He didn't choose to cast any spells because all of his buffs or remains in play and they're all up, so didn't really need to do anything. Charges. So the Peg Knights were in the flank arc, so they're on the flank of those Linehammer stone trolls, and then the Grail Knights came in on the front. That's for charges. Remaining moves phase. So he decided to take this unit of Knights of the Realm and move it right in the face of the Chariot. Obviously, he could risk me flank charging him there, but I'll probably charge that way instead, so we'll see next turn. All the archers moved up a bit, and that's it. Shooting phase. The Peasant Bowmen did take some shots, even though they were at very high penalty because they moved in lots of cover and stuff. They did no damage. The Green Knight versus the River Trolls. The Green Knight did 2 wounds. I lose combat by 1. I rolled Snake Eyes, so I gave ground, and he followed up, so I'm 1 turn away from getting bullied off the table. All right, we have the Stone Trolls, who are missing, by the way. We'll get to that in a second, versus the Peg Knights and the Grail Knights. So they killed 2 Trolls during the fight, exactly evenly, 6 wounds. And the Trolls attacked the Grail Knights, killed 4 Grails, even with all their extra saves and stuff. But that was not enough for them to win combat because they made a bunch of regen saves. So, and also, unfortunately, they were not within any range of the Shaman or the General or anything like that. So they had to roll Snake Eyes. They rolled a 3. They almost did it, but they didn't. They rolled a 9 on their flee test, and they had to flee away from the Peg Knights. So they fled this way and clipped into the Peasant Bowmen because they were in Linehammer, and then clipped, and then popped out there, took an additional 4 wounds from Perils tests, and they're fleeing that way over there. The challenge over here with the Big Boss BSB against the Peg Knights, this is just a fail fest. We've been rolling terribly. He did cause me to take a regen save, so I got 1 combat rest from him. That actually prevented him from losing combat. I did no damage. I've got the BSB. I have close order. He has a banner and a regen save. That's 2-2. And we pushed again. It's another tie. No musicians. And we'll roll it back again. But I keep my frenzy. All right, start a turn. So the trolls passed their stupid check, but failed their rally check by 1. So during the compulsory phase, we'll see if they stay on the board or not. That was unfortunate. If they had rallied, it would have been on a 5. But if they'd managed to pull that off, would have gotten a lot more value out of them. Anyway, magic. I actually am finally in range of his 2 casters, so I started dispelling all their buffs. I took off both of the wraths, I think, but gift is still there. Then I tried to cast Ravenous Recourse on myself, and it was dispelled by Elise du Shard with authority on a double. So I get, with Elise du Shard special ability, I took a wound. Charge moves. The Warboss General just went in 1 inch onto them. And the Boar Boys went there. They countercharged at me 2 inches, and then I went into them. So I got the full 3-inch initiative bonus. They get 2 inches. Remaining moves phase. I don't have any units that are out of combat or not fleeing, so there's nothing to do. Green Knight versus the River Trolls. He killed 1 River Troll, and then he bullied them off the edge of the table. They fell back in good order, so they were easily off the table, and they're gone. And he passed his restraint check, so he did not run off the table to follow them. All right, we got the general into this small unit of Knights of the Realm. The whole crew and everything whiffed, so that means that with the charge bonus on initiative, so that meant that the Knights got to attack, or the Knight, because he issued a challenge on him, got to attack back, did nothing. The boss finished him off, did 2 wounds, so that's 1 overkill. I'm close ordered. He has a banner, and he rolled an 11 on his break test, so he's gonna flee. Here, let's do the flee roll on camera. Let's see what you get.
We'll throw in the Swift
Throw the Swift Stride die. What'd you got? 5, 8. All right, well, we'll see how that goes. All right, so we rolled an 8, which popped him through my unit of Boar Boys out there, blunted, obviously. And he made both perils checks. I overran because I wanted to get into the fight and away from the Green Knight, but I rolled Snake Eyes, so I only went 2 inches forwards, and now I'm in danger of getting charged next turn. We have the ongoing challenge here between the Big Boss and the Peg Knights. Big Boss finally came through. He did 2 wounds on that Peg Knight champion there, so got some overkill. 2 wounds there, plus I'm close ordered, and I've got the BSB, so for a total of 4. He has banner and no wounds. So for 1, so you lose combat by 3. You're rolling on leadership 8. That's fall back in good order. Do you want to re-roll that with your BSB or keep it?
I think we'll keep it.
You'll keep it. All right, we'll be back in a sec. All right, so they did take their Swift Stride roll with their fallback good order, moved only 6 inches. But because they were in like a conga line, they actually closed more distance there because the champion was dead. I only rolled a 5 on my pursuit, so I kind of ended up there in no man's land, and I'm going to get charged next turn. All right, the Boar Boys on the giant unit of Knights of the Realm. I rolled terrible. So he challenged me with his unit champion. My unit champion accepted and punked his unit champion and killed him. Then I had these biggin Boar Boys with the banner of butchery, strength 6, AP 3, did no wounds. He made ridiculous saves with his ward saves, and it was absolutely terrible. I rolled terrible. He rolled amazing. He hit back and rolled fine, killed 3 Boar Boys, but the big one here is that I didn't have rapid regeneration because it got dispelled and wounded by Elise du Shard, and then I didn't get my Torrent of Filth off because that also got dispelled by Elise du Shard when he tried to cast it as an assailment with a double, so he took 2 wounds in the same turn. Elise du Shard is one of the most oppressive dispellers in all of Old World. Remember this. It is magic blanket defense. And that meant my Shaman had 1 attack, so his Paladin just threw a couple attacks into the Shaman and managed to kill him. So the Shaman's dead too, and I lost by a bajillion because this is like a combat res block unit with a War Banner and a BSB and all that. So pretty sure I need Snake Eyes. How much was the differential? It's like 9, 12? Yeah, it's Snake Eyes. So it's Snake Eyes to give ground by my generals right here. So I've got leadership 8. 3 and 9. I'm going to re-roll that with my Battle Standard Bearer, who's right there. Let's try that again. Nope, that's a break. Well, we'll see that. All right. Unfortunately, he caught me. I only rolled 9. He rolled 10, and also I had a trailing rank in the back, so I was easy to catch because he could catch my butt. So he ran me down. He passed his reform check and pointed at my general. Bretonian strategy phase. He rebuffed himself, so he got Lady's Wrath back up over there. And also got Lady's Wrath back up over there. Oh, you didn't get it there. Sorry, Elise du Shard failed, but the damsel succeeded. And these knights rallied from Rallying Cry. charges for Bretonnia. So the Green Knight made his long bomb charge in here, and we've got a Warboss sandwich between the Green Knight and this unit of Knights of the Realm with all the characters. And these Peg Knights. So they declared a charge on the trolls since they're fleeing. They had to flee. They fleed off the table. They passed a leadership check. They redirected their charge, and since they're skirmishers, they can just go anywhere. So they charged my big boss. Rough. All right, the Warboss against the Green Knight and this giant unit. So the wisely issued a challenge with the Green Knight, which I could not refuse, and I can't hurt the Green Knight. Green Knight couldn't hurt me either, so we pushed. But he has a giant block of combat res, BSB, War Banner, regular banner, +1 rank, and a lance formation, and I've just got close ordered. So, and he unfortunately also double outnumbers me in unit strength with all those weight of horse bodies over there. So if I roll a fallback good order, which is quite likely at leadership 8 and losing combat by 6, then I break. So I got 2 attempts at it because my BSB is right there, but I failed. So it was a break roll, and was this my flee roll? Did I already roll that? I can't remember. Or do you want to roll it live?
Yes, because you rolled a 1 and a 3 for the.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my flee roll there. It's a 5. Let's see. What's your pursuit?
Green Knight first. This is roll. Well, I guess roll 2.
You caught me. All right. So the Warboss is dead. All right, this is where we ended up. They easily caught the thing because he was, when you're fleeing through somebody behind you, they basically get a head start in catching you. So the Green Knight had Swift Stride. I didn't. Easy peasy. I only rolled a 5. So General's dead. Big Boss is still fighting on. We'll see what happens over there. All right, the Big Boss managed to do 2 wounds and kill off a Peg Knight, who we took off the table. Forgot to leave it there for the camera. The Peg Knights actually did 1 wound. Got through all my war paint and armor save and regen, re-rollable regen. But I still won combat by 2. So let's get a break test here. Leadership 8, right? Leadership 8. What do you got? That's a break. There you have a BSB. 12 inches. Let's measure it real quick. It's pretty tight, actually.
I think we are base to base.
All right, roll it.
Very close, though.
That's what you got. Leadership 8. That is a fallback in good order. No, that's a give ground.
That's a give ground.
All right, he gave ground, and I'm frenzied, so I had to follow up. There we go. All right, so, I had no strategy phase, no charges to declare because I was in combat, no remaining moves, and no shooting, so we'll just get right back into combat. So my BSB against the Peg Knights, he killed them. He just chopped him down, and he's frenzied, so he had to overrun, which I would have wanted to do anyway to get out of charge range of these guys. And passed his reform check at the end to reform there. And he's just living his best life. Everyone else in the army has just been getting crushed, but he's been doing awesome. Just going chopping through dudes and made it all the way around the board. Still frenzied. Bretonian strategy phase. At least Duchard tried to cast the Lady's Gift because she wanted to take it off her unit, put it on that unit, but she failed. So nobody gets the Lady's Gift. No charges to declare. Remaining moves phase actually quite complicated. So they moved up at all? The big block? I can't remember. Yeah, okay. These knights moved up a bit. The Green Knight moved straight through the tower because he's ethereal. Lady Duchard, at least Duchard moved up a bit with the Grail Knights. The archers moved back. They moved around the corner to get some chip shots there. The Peg Knights flew like halfway across the board with a march move over there. And there we go. All the squires and all the peasant bowmen shot at my big boss and did no damage. No strategy phase, so go straight to the charges. I could have charged the archers, but it would have required a 6, and he probably would have just fled. So probably not worth it. So charging these Knights of the Realm, try to finish them off. And they counter-charged me. I charged on in. Big Boss versus the Knights of the Realm. He rolled 7 impact hits and just squished both of those knights under his grinding wheels. And I overran 8 inches. Strategy phase for the Bretonians. At least Duchard cast Plague of Rust on my Big Boss. Charge phase. Everyone is charging the Big Boss, except for this cav unit, because there just was not space for them to fit in. They were actually in the front arc of the chariot, so they couldn't fit in there because Elise Duchard would have been in the way of this big caboose back here. So he charged in Elise Duchard's unit instead of the Grail Knights. Combat here, the Green Knight issued a challenge again, smartly because I took no magic attacks in my list other than 1 spell on my Shaman. The Green Knight didn't have his best day, did no damage. I did no damage, of course, because I can't harm the Green Knight. So it's just about static combat res. I have close ordered and a BSB. He has a banner and a flank. You only get one flank. And close order or lance, equivalent of close order from the lance. So he has 3 combat res. I have 2 combat res. I lose by 1. I am leadership 7, I think, on a big boss base. So I need to not flee, hopefully, here. See what we got. That's a give ground. I'm totally safe. Call it good. So the big boss gave ground here, back 2 inches. That's the end of the game. He survived. Unfortunately, he finally lost to combat, so he lost frenzy. Party's over. All right, we added up the number at the end of the game. Thanks for the great game. He got 1,928 victory points. Basically, he killed my entire army, other than the BSB right there. The only banner that he captured was the one on my Boar Boys, and he killed my general, so 150 bonus points. I got 413 points. I killed a unit of Knights of the Realm, and I killed a unit of Pegasus Knights, and didn't get anything for the Grails, unfortunately, because they're still at 33% of their starting strength, so didn't quite get them down to 25%. That would have gotten me some more points. And I got 2 banners, actually, because both the Pegasus Knights and the Knights of the Realm had banners. So yes, the final score within our tournament scoring, we're using square-based points format. I believe that is a 17-3 victory for Garrett. Congrats. All right, so game debrief. I will start. This is my first time playing Troll Horde. I printed up the Troll Horde list for the summer league that we're playing. Didn't have a time to actually practice it, so there won't be, unfortunately, any opportunity to refine this list because I have to keep my list through the league. It's very powerful. Just has a lot of power, a lot of wounds, a lot of attacks, a lot of re-rolled regen saves. But I didn't put any chaff in it, and I didn't put any magic attacks in it. So against ethereal units, I am pretty much defenseless. And against an ethereal character specifically, he can do all sorts of things with all these challenges, as you saw in the game. It's very powerful. So yeah, it's a flawed list. Troll units, or Troll Horde has a little bit of tough time with chaff, because a lot of the chaff units normally take like Snotlings, Night Goblins. Those are not in the list at all. So I think if I were to have rewritten this list after 1 game's experience, probably would have taken some little 5-person orc units in retrospect, and maybe drop a troll or 2 out of my core. So yeah, that's probably what I do. And then I'd need to figure out some way to get some magic in there. There's no great way to do it within Orcs and Goblins because, none of your one-handed weapons are that great. I guess you could take like Choppiest Choppa, but that would require you to make one of your big bosses a lot less tanky. So there's compromises. Anyway, yeah, super fun though. Troll Horde's crazy. I think, I maybe in the league I'll have some better matchups in my later rounds. I don't know if I'm going to go up against Ethereal with like all Swift Stride in every game I play against. But anyway, how'd your list do? What were your thoughts?
So I did better than I expected, except the Grail Knights did a lot worse than I expected. Maybe not so much against a line-hammered group of trolls. There's kind of not a really narrative theme, but a theme, right? That this is more of a escort for the Lady Duchard, and that the Green Knight shows up to kind of, the lady's in trouble. So I feel like the Green Knight, I think, was tremendous. I think he really won the game, tying down an entire unit of trolls, challenging out...
not just tying them down, but bullying them
literally
off the board.
Yes. Yeah. He definitely took their lunch money, gave us swirly the whole bit. I do think that on the Warboss, that was obviously huge, or Big Boss. Is it a Big Boss or Warboss?
Which one?
The General.
When you killed the General with the unit strength?
Yes.
The Warboss.
Warboss. Yeah. So that's really I think the central theme of the army. Hopefully none of the league people see this before that comes out, but obviously having this really big block of combat resolution that somehow did not get killed. Like as soon as I went in against the Giant, I knew they were in trouble when the wounds just didn't come out, and I figured, okay, we're going to lose some. We're not going to have that for the rest of the game. We're going to have to see a lot more work from the Grail Knights and the Pegs, and when they literally lost a model and a wound on the Damsel, it was like, okay, I think we might be able to do this. So... good list. Obviously, Pegasus Knights, great Bretonnian players. Try to get 2 in your army if you can. That one who held down the big boss in the challenge was really huge.
Yeah, that was he held out that for a really long time.
It took
3 combat rounds, to
kill him. So I will say that the archers in the army, I know there's a lot of them. Against this list, they weren't really able to do their job.
They were really important though.
because
Yeah.
even though they barely hurt anything, they made me advance.
Right.
And if I was able to turtle up and you had to try to crack my shell, I would have been in a much stronger formation with overlapping spells and leadership bubbles and all that stuff. But the fact that the archers existed meant that I couldn't turtle for the entire game, because then you'd chip me down and just win over 6 turns of bow shots. So I had to come forward, and that basically cracked me open. And then you could start picking me apart with the calf. So, and unfortunately, there is this problem with Troll Horde. It's like, oh, I need to take some shooting, but you look through the list and you're like, what shooting am I going to take? There's no war machines, 0 war machines. So really, it's like orc archers or goblin archers. Those are your only shooting options. But honestly, you might just need to take some, because you have to have something where if you're going to go up against a little cloud of peasant archers, you need to be able to shoot them down with some orcs and force people to come to you. Just a token amount of shooting.
And, you know, in thinking about other lists in our league, right, like the archers are going to do much more to either pressure or against other gun lines. They'll have to make a choice. Do I shoot the knights? Do I shoot the archers who are actually doing wounds to me from the start of the game? And obviously in this list, they didn't do that, but they did, as you said, they make you come forward.
They made me come forward. Yeah.
So, and then once you do that, especially with, I think how small your actual model count was, right? And that you basically had a corner of the map sequestered, that forced you to come out, kind of forced you to split some units. We had the central piece, which forced a kind of a divide there. And once that happened, you know, we were able to kind of get in there and pick off a couple of individual units. So
yeah, I thought I was going to have to more or less sacrifice the bone grinder. I thought I would have regen on it for a little longer. So the fact that I got stuck in combat and I wasn't able to recast the regen save hurt. But I actually thought I was going to win the center. I thought I was actually going to push through the center with my Boar Chariots and my Boar Boys. I thought I was going to have the strength to do that. So I was a bit surprised when that didn't actually end up happening, because I got charges. You know, I had charges on everything. Boar Boys got the charge. But I think what was crucial was Elise Duchard, because her dispelling is so oppressive. Being able to dispel on any double, even a low double, is really challenging to deal with. And so, you know, it dispelled my regen save. It wounded my shaman. It made my shaman get killed in combat because it took 2 wounds from Elise Duchard's dispelling. And then also just an extremely cold round of dice and a hot round of dice for you with my Boar Boys. Those Boar Boys should have done so much more damage. And that was just a really terrible swing there. So I thought I was going to punch through the middle and then probably still lose the game because of the Green Knight, and then you would have come around with the pegs. But I thought I was at least going to be able to punch through the middle. But unfortunately, that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, and I mean, truly blessed by the lady here, this block of knights, because they had 2 rounds of combat that they should have lost hugely against both the Bone Grinder and against the Boar Boys, and somehow came out of that scot-free. So that's just incredible to me, and we only really lost because we issued a challenge that we probably didn't even need to do. So, and if I challenged with the Paladin, it would have been a different result as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think that unit, I think an overcharged unit of Knights of the Realm is very good in Bretonnia's favor, especially against a non-gun line unit, right? If you had a lot of archers picking them off as they came in, that would have been bad. This unit does have the Banner of Shalon on the Battle Standard Bearer. Obviously, that was not going to come up this game against a gun line that might, you know, and trying to move through. They actually also have the Paladin there. Again, didn't come up. He has the antlers that give him, he can move through, you know,
forests and cover and stuff.
Move through cover. So again, nothing that came up, and the Falcon Horn of Fredeman on there.
Also great to have in a list, just not against mine. Very good against your dragons and stuff.
5 Knights at Fredeman's did not come up. But, so anyway, I mean, a great game. You know, I really panicked when I lost all those Grail Knights, because that's a significant number of points that, even though they got some kills, they just did not do the work they would hope. I had very cold offensive rolls, right? Like the Knights of the Realm also did really poorly against the Bone Grinder. They had a lot of 1, 2, 3s on hits and wounds. So, you know, I think the end result of the game, as I felt every time I play this game, is a lot more lopsided than it is when you play it. Because as you're playing it, you're like, oh my god, that unit didn't do any damage. You know, oh, he's stomping it. I'm going to lose a ton of things, and then, you know, you just roll 2 5s and a 6 on your lady save, and you just go home. You just go home. So, yeah, but wonderful game. You know, great. I love this map. It's really good.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll try to get some of the terrain painted.
Yeah, I mean, my contribution's not painted yet either. So, you know, we'll get
I definitely learned a lot. So appreciate it. Anyway, thanks a lot.